Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. As you can see, I have my bookshelf up here of books that I have and that I would like to listen to. One of which is going to be read possibly tonight because we just finished Killing America by Gene Bailey, where the left is trying to kill America and the right has to do it first. They have to beat them to the chase. Anyway, that's what we just finished reading, and it was as psychotic as it sounds. In fact, the last chapter, he said that there's evidence that masks cause cancer. Literally, he said that. He said masks cause cancer. Anyway, he wrote another book titled Flashpoint of Revival, and it's just as insane. He wrote it in 2021, where I think Killing America was 2023, maybe? I don't remember. And Flashpoint of Revival is short. It's only 3 hours. We could have this busted out in, no time. And there's also Pokemon and Harry Potter, A Fatal Attraction, where he makes the argument, he lays out the argument in this book that Pokemon is demonic. And that if you are watching it, playing it, supporting it, letting your kids play it, you are feeding into this demonic architecture and allowing demons into your life. It's fucking insane. What? The selected resolution is not supported in this edition of VMix. I am still live, right? I'm worried. Why the fuck did it just pop up that... Am I live? It appears that I'm live. Why did it just give me that error? I'm concerned. I can't help but notice that I did turn on my game. Just because I like to have it on in the background, but it's not actually visible. Let me try to fix that real fast. 2, 3, 1. Okay. I think I fixed it. Maybe. Yes, I fixed it. But that is very concerning to me. That popped up. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, I think that I took a poll and people said they wanted to hear Pokemon A Fatal Attraction next. So we may listen to this. Just jump to any random spot here. Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. What is Pokemon? At about the same time that I began to look into the facts about Pokemon to present to my 9-year-old son, letters from our television viewers began to come in from around the country. Here is one of those letters, ... We're getting very worried. Some time ago, our 2 boys, aged 7 and 9, began to get into this new cartoon and game called Pokemon. At first, we thought nothing of it, but now our sons have changed. I told my husband I was scared, but he laughed it off. He's not laughing anymore. They have gotten out of hand.
They've gotten out of hand. Pokemon has gotten out of hand. Or the children have gotten out of hand as a result of Pokemon?
Something is going on. Can you please advise us? ...
I don't know why it would read the dots. Maybe I'll have to remove that later or something. Where does Tate Bros are brokies now? What? Tate Bros are brokies? I did not hear that. I will find out what the deal is with that, and I will get back to you. Oh my god, dude, my computer is just suddenly dying on me. What the fuck? I will find out.
Signed, Desperate in Houston, Texas.
Desperate in Houston, Texas.
While many parents may not be extremely familiar with the invasive nature of occultic and New Age influences through contemporary children's entertainment, most of them are in tune with their children's mood and behavioral swings. The parents who penned that letter, and multitudes like them, are attesting to bizarre changes in the attitudes of children who are plunging into the world of Pokemon.
They're attesting to bizarre changes in their children's behavior. Are you fucking kidding me right now? These people are insane.
But why and how could these products so radically influence the personality and behavior of a child?
Oh my God. This is, we're not going to listen to this right now. We're actually going to talk about Duffy, Sean Duffy right now. But this book is like, it's as crazy as when Jehovah's Witnesses claimed that getting an organ transplant actually transplants the personality of the person who originally owned that organ into you. That's how insane that is. Very, very insane. Wait, where the fuck is the Duffy video? The Duffy video's gone. Huh. Okay, that's weird. Right. Apparently, Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, has a reality TV show. I did not know this, but it's as cringy as you would imagine. He's basically in the position that Pete Buttigieg occupied under Biden, and he has a reality TV show. Now, let's get a glimpse into his family's life on this show.
Can't say no.
To Harvard.
So his daughter's trying to go to Harvard.
Can't say no.
To Harvard.
Yeah.
Well, me and Mom can say no.
Catholicism, to us, is everything. It's the basis of our marriage. It's the basis of our family. So I'm nervous about the idea of Paloma going.
Wait. Catholicism is the basis of all this shit? Perfect! Because Catholicism does not ban people from going to Harvard. So there's no hang up here, right? Or is your life based on loving Donald Trump? Is that what it's really based on? Because that's what it seems like to me. If that's what your life is based on, this decision would make sense because Trump naturally hates Harvard.
To Harvard. We spend a lot of time nurturing and providing formation for our kids, giving them an environment where they are steeped in faith and values. And so the idea of dropping...
Okay, you can either have your children steeped in an environment of faith and values or provide information to them, or accurate information. Not both. They're mutually exclusive.
Environment where they are steeped in faith and values. And so the idea of dropping her off at a place that would undermine that or try to undo all those things makes me worried.
And again,
I don't understand. In what world does Harvard try to reverse people's faith and or values? What the fuck are they talking about? They live in a complete delusion where everybody is always out to get them. Fucking thing on my microphone. It's bizarre to watch people like this feel their way through a world that is not fucking real.
Would undermine that or try to undo all those things makes me worried.
and again, I don't want them to get one viewpoint. I want them to get a lot of different viewpoints.
Well, obviously not, because she's getting all of her viewpoints from this scumbag right here on screen. All her viewpoints are from him. She is not getting additional viewpoints. Now, if you wanted her to get additional viewpoints, different viewpoints, then you would give her the opportunity to go to Harvard, where things are basically normal. This isn't even a left-wing indoctrination school. This is just like a normal school. In fact, it leans conservative. If he really wanted her to have a broad base of experience in life, he would not prevent her from going to Harvard. He doesn't want her to have that broad experience. He wants her to only have the experiences that he wants her to have and nothing else.
but I don't want them fed only one viewpoint that's contrary to the way my kids were raised.
That is literally not what's happening.
Listen, my problem is we have thought about how we raised you and how hard we've worked to, I think, raise what is a remarkable young girl. If I send you there, I think what happens is they have professionalized figuring out how they can take good young girls like you and, I think, corrupt their minds.
This is delusion, first of all. Second, look at her face. Wait, there. Look at her face. She's not happy about this. And she shouldn't be. And second, corrupt young minds. College education. They sound like Jehovah's Witnesses right now. This is genuinely fucking sad. This is a cult. People are not allowed to live their lives and do their thing and get information from wherever they want. Their information flow is restricted to exactly what the leadership wants it to be from, and nothing else. Genuinely heartbreaking. Now, if she's a good little cult member, she will say, "Thank you so much for setting me straight. I am so glad you made the right decision by not allowing me to go to Harvard. If I had gone to Harvard, I would be, from the woke cult as well." Let's see how she reacts. I don't think this shows let me rephrase. I don't think this shows us how she reacts. But, Sean Duffy is the rich one, not his daughter. So at the end of the day, he decides where she goes.
Raise what is a remarkable young girl. If I send you there, I think what happens is they have professionalized figuring out how they can take good young girls like you and, I think, corrupt their minds. You don't have to believe what I believe. You don't have to have the political viewpoints that I have.
Really? Fascinating. That's interesting because it seems like that's what he's doing. He's pushing those beliefs on her against her will. She wants to go to Harvard. He is not going to allow it because Harvard does not share his political beliefs. He can't be serious with this. Tell me again, you don't want her to have her own ideas and beliefs and feelings?
But I do think it's important that you make those choices for yourself and you have a fair representation of what they are. And I don't think the Harvards of the world give you that kind of well-rounded picture.
But I went to an extremely conservative school in high school, and I'm part of an extremely conservative family. And then if I go to a liberal setting, that's a way more rounded education than if I go to a conservative high school and then...
Right, so she's saying, you want me to have both views? Awesome, me too, because I've already had the conservative one, right? So now I get the liberal one. It's not even a liberal fucking view. Harvard University? They lean hard right. It's fucking wild to me to hear people call Harvard far left. The only context in which anybody could say Harvard is far left is if they simply love Donald Trump. That's it. That is the only reason anybody could possibly have to say that about Harvard. Trump tried to push his political views on Harvard and tried to force them to fire teachers he didn't like and tried to force them to teach a curriculum that he wanted at the beginning of 2025 when he got into office. They said, no, we're teaching what we think we should teach, which is science and logic. And Trump went to war with them over it, refused to give up, yanked their funding illegally and all kinds of shit. That's what happened. That's what they're talking about, why they hate Harvard so much. What happened to these free speech warriors, by the way? Where universities should have free speech. They should be able to research things they want to research and say what they want to say. And you have no control over that. What happened to that? These people don't have principles. people like Sean Duffy, he doesn't have principles. He has requirements and expectations. And everybody in his life has to live by those or he throws a bitch fit. Same with Donald Trump.
And go to a conservative college. That's just being kind of one-sided anyways.
But they're so good at it. You'll see young people go to a conservative school with a conservative family, and they get perverted and contorted.
In what way? What the fuck are they even talking about? People go to Harvard University and they're perverted and contorted into not, hunting immigrants for sport. That's being perverted and contorted.
I'm nervous about the idea of Paloma going to Harvard. We spend a lot of time nurturing and providing formation for our kids, giving them.
Again, you did not provide information for your kids. You provided propaganda. They are different. You can either nurture your children, give them a loving environment, or you can propagandize to them. And they've already proven that they've propagandized nonstop, so.
An environment where they are steeped in faith and values. And so the idea of dropping her off at a place that would undermine that or try to undo all those things makes me worried.
And again, I don't want them to get one viewpoint. I want them to get a lot of different viewpoints. But I don't want them fed only one viewpoint that's contrary to the way my kids were raised.
They are so full of shit. It's fucking wild to listen to these people talk. To listen to them say the things that they do. And wonder, do they really believe this? It is so hard to imagine that people like this really believe what they're saying. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. This poor girl. I don't know anything about her. Maybe she's actually a scumbag. But this situation's wrong. This is a cult. Okay. Let me write down my timestamp here. That was 17 or 18 minutes. Hold on. Let's pull up the midterms. All right. Yeah. There we go. Good. 1 second here. Okay. Found this video from Todd Starnes. He's a Republican radio show dude, if you're unfamiliar. He had this guest on who, believe it or not, told the truth for a minute.
I pray that we figure that out by the midterms, because I think this could be a shellacking as things stand right now. We've got to pray for a big turnaround in a lot of areas. And let's face it, our side hasn't won a midterm since 2014. And we've not done well when Trump's not on the ballot. So here we are.
So Chad, you think the Republicans could get beat in the midterms?
I think this is bad, man. I mean, good gracious. I don't know. You're probably seeing some of the same internal polls I'm seeing. And unless we learn to talk about pocketbook issues and the things that moms and dads are dealing with around the kitchen table, I think we're in trouble. I really do.
Yeah, they are. Republicans are in trouble, in a lot of fucking trouble. And they know that. These people on the right pretend there's no way they could lose the midterms because Trump is so awesome. He's doing such a good job and everybody loves him so much. There's no way they could lose. They know. They know they're fucked. They know that Republicans crossed a line. When Donald Trump won the first time in 2016, it was a fucking nightmare. It was embarrassing. It was painfully stupid. Every other day he was doing something to shame us as Americans. I don't know about you, but in his first term, 2016, I was basically in a constant state of shame and embarrassment because of what he did. Well, something's different. Okay? Term 2 is not the same as term 1. We're in a different environment now where what Trump has done is effectively like installed himself as a dictator. We effectively live in a dictatorship at this point. He's calmed a lot of it down dramatically since the midterms are close. And he's just been a normal shithead recently. But Trump is still a monstrous scumbag, and you can bet your bottom dollar it's going to pick right back up the moment the midterm is over. These people pretend that they are so loved, but they know how disliked they are. They know it, and this is evidence. When things change like this throughout history so dramatically, invariably, the party who enacted that change, the party responsible for that, gets completely fucking destroyed. And I don't mean a little destroyed. I mean like banned from existing historically in Germany, in Russia, all over the place. When there is such a dramatic jump in how things operate, in the way things work, it doesn't end well for the party who completely ignored the will of the people and destroyed what remained of their government. It never ends well for them, and Steve Bannon knows that.
And I will tell you right now, as God is my witness, if we lose the midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included. They're not going to stop.
You're goddamn fucking right. Some in this room are going to prison. You're absolutely fucking right. That is what's going to happen, yes. Something is different now. Something has changed. Okay, we no longer live in an environment where one side wins some of the time and the other side wins the other time. Where there's honest disagreement between the two parties. We're not in that anymore. We haven't been in that in a long time. And I got to tell you, people are going to pay for that. Legally. That's how it works every fucking time. Every single time some dramatic shit like this happens, somebody pays the price for it on the other end. When the more reasonable people take over, someone is going to pay the price for what they did. Will it be Steve Bannon? Maybe not. Will it be Donald Trump? Probably not. No, I would guess not. But everybody all the way up and down the bureaucratic chain is fucked. They're all going to federal prison for the rest of their fucking lives when Democrats retake power, in my opinion. Put money on it.
They're getting more and more and more radical. And we have to counter that. And what do we have to counter it with? We have to counter it with more action, more intense action, more urgency. We're burning daylight. If you look across every aspect of this, we have to codify what President Trump has done by executive order, right? We have to codify it. And people say, well, they're just going to be messing bills going to pass Senate. We got to put aside these structural barriers and get on with it. President Trump today gave to the Senate when they.
So what he's saying is he knows that Republicans are completely fucked in the midterms, and he knows that when Trump is out of office, he's going to prison. And so he's trying to rig the game so that it doesn't matter if Democrats win another election, or it doesn't matter how hard Democrats vote, they will never be in power again. That's what he's been trying to do. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't believe that democracy is so far gone that is possible for him to do, that it's possible for him to erase Democrats' ability to take power again. And I do believe that Democrats are going to take power again sooner rather than later. Having read history books that I've read, having seen how things play out in the past when these things take place, I'm telling you, they're fucked. It is a matter of time before they are fucked, and they know that too.
Came over for breakfast. Even Lindsey Graham, some of the guys that liked, and some of these institutions, I understand. This is a very tough decision to make. And you're going to see some people in the conservative movement that not in a million years, because I talked to him today, quite frankly, I had Hawley on the show this morning, Josh Hawley, and he's talking about it, and I'm trying to play the institution. Well, they called me up this afternoon and said, let's go through the 10 reasons we need to do it. And these are heavy hitters on what I would call the constitutional, limited government constitutionalist in our movement. And they're about to come out over the next couple of days and make this argument because they said, look, we have to understand that if we don't take this to the maximum, a maximalist strategy now with a sense of urgency, and in doing this, seize the institutions, if we don't do that now, we're going to lose this chance forever.
So basically, I realize that, like, this is one of the most dire moments in history for Republicans, is what he's saying. It's one of the most dire moments in history because they burned through every bit of political capital that they had. They have pissed off everybody from here to Texas, and they won't hold power for a generation after this, in my opinion. Watch and see. I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. They are fucked. They are politically and judicially fucked. They have known that they are fucked for a while now. This is E.W. Jackson, friends with, oh my God, what the fuck is his name? Friends with, I want to say Andrew Wilson. That's not it. It's not Andrew Wilson. What the fuck is his name? Andrew Womack. Andrew Womack. That's it. Yes. Friends with Andrew Womack.
I have the greatest admiration for President Trump. I think that he's done a tremendous job. Is he perfect? By no stretch of the imagination is he perfect. Not his past, not his present. He won't be perfect in the future. But I think he's done a tremendous service for this country, and I'm grateful to him for it. But he's leaving. What happens to America then?
They're fucked. I mean, Republicans. Republicans are fucked. That's what happens then.
What does the next president do? Imagine if the agenda I've just suggested to you is not only subverted, but you had a Congress controlled by leftists and a leftist president who could completely alter everything I've just laid out and take this country in a socialist, secularist, godless, and frankly, sexually deviant direction, which is...
You know what's fascinating to me? Nobody is taking the country in a sexually deviant or whatever direction. They are simply advocating for expanding people's freedoms, their right to do things. Taking the country in a sexually deviant direction, in his mind, would mean forcing people to be gay or whatever it is he thinks is sexually deviant. Forcing them to. You must have a boyfriend and we will assign you one. That would be moving the country in a sexually deviant direction. That's not what's happening. What's happening is people are allowing others the freedom to make choices for their own lives. And E.W. Jackson doesn't like that. None of these scumbags like it. In fact, they're kind of fucking pissed off that people get to make the choices they want for their own lives. And regarding the socialist direction thing, socialism and capitalism are not mutually exclusive. You can have both. And the socialism that exists in America today, I don't know who is unaware of like the definitions. Maybe we've got some capitalists in the chat or whatever. But socialism is simply a capitalist market, capitalism all the way down, exactly as it is today in America. Capitalism. Pure capitalism. Plus the markets that exist, the free markets, are owned and operated by the people that are employed in those companies. So in a nonprofit organization in the United States, boy, there's a very angry baby out there right now. You have, in a capitalist market in the United States, you have a single owner of the company who owns all of the stock shares or whatever, or many of them anyway. And, God, I'm sorry. In a nonprofit organization in the United States today, you have a board of directors who makes all of the major decisions and votes on who they hire for the executive director position or the deputy director position or whatever. And then the executive director hires all of the staff under him, and the staff votes on the board members. They vote on the pay packages and everything else. And they all own a piece of the organization. That's kind of how it works, depending on the nonprofit or whatever. That is a socialist system where private companies, instead of being owned by a single individual, Elon Musk, SpaceX stock is owned and traded by SpaceX employees. When you get hired at SpaceX, you get a certain number of shares. And if you perform well, your share value goes up. That's the incentive. That's what socialism is. It's like democratizing the workplace, where in a strict capitalist system, there is a dictator who makes all of the decisions fully and completely. And in a socialist system, that dictator is elected and can be voted out of that position. And everybody, owns a piece of the company. That's what socialism is. It's not state-owned anything. It's not taking your rights away. It's not abolishing the Constitution or any of that shit. It's workers' rights. Simple as that. So, do I want the country moving in a socialist direction? Abso-fucking-lutely, yes. 100%. Why the fuck wouldn't I want the United States moving in a direction that's beneficial to the workers?
And frankly, sexually deviant direction, which is exactly what they want to do. And that is not too strong language to...
Yeah, totally. I want to force you to have a boyfriend. You're not allowed to have a girlfriend. That's what I'm trying to do.
To describe it. That is exactly what it is. Imagine what this country looks like if, instead of the continued flourishing of this awakening, we get a surrender to the forces of evil, and where that would ultimately take the country.
Take the country?
Well, we don't have to let that happen. God doesn't want it to happen.
Oh, and you speak for God. You tell us what God wants, huh? Is that what it is? It's convenient. These people are fucking disgusting. They're so empty and vapid and shallow and hollow and transparent. Like, it's painfully obvious what they're doing. He's literally he's telling people you need to be okay with voting for a rapist pedophile. No, he's not perfect. I acknowledge that. I recognize that. That's what he just said. He's not perfect. And by not perfect, I mean he's a rapist and a pedophile. But God wants you to vote for this rapist pedophile anyway, you see. And I'm telling you because I speak for God. Just speechless with how shallow and empty these people really are. One more. I want you to see proof that these people know that they are fucked come midterms. They know that they have spent every dime of political capital that they once owned. They know it. Listen to this. This is a political strategist and an evangelical Ralph Reed.
They are coming. And they are coming in the biggest numbers we have ever seen in a
You have my attention. Go on. I'm interested. What are they doing?
Coming. And they are coming in the biggest numbers we have ever seen in a midterm election. And they are coming with unlimited resources. Unlimited. Do you know, as we gather here tonight, that 4 million more Democrats have voted in primaries than Republicans? 12.6 million Democrats, 8.6 million Republicans. In my home state of Georgia, more Democrats than Republicans voted in a gubernatorial primary for the first time in 24 years.
Oh, yes. They're fucked. They are completely and totally fucked, and they know it.
And they didn't even have a contest. They didn't really even have a competitive primary. That's an indication of what's coming. So we need to leave here and rededicate ourselves that we will work even harder than we did in 2024. Because if we don't, they will win the House, they will win the Senate, and the Trump presidency will be over after 2 years. They will investigate him, they will impeach him, subpoenas will fly in this city like heat-seeking missiles.
They know they're fucked. That's the point. They know it. They are not going to survive this politically. Or otherwise. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. Probably not. But a lot of the time, when dictatorships take over this way, the way that the Republicans took over just now in America over the past 10 years, just about every time, there is a political price that they have to pay, and a lot of the time they end up on the other end of a rope as a result. That's what happened in Nuremberg. That's what happened in a lot of post-Soviet breakup states. That's what happened in Hungary after World War II, the Arrow Cross Party. I wrote about this at length in my book, by the way, God's People, Christian Nationalism in the Third Reich. That's what happened to the Arrow Cross Party in Hungary, in Budapest. Every one of them were fucked. Completely and totally fucked. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. I think there's reason to hope. And I think they know that. All right, let's see. Let me write down the timestamps now. $18 and $39. Giggity. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Sporkbud. I appreciate that. Okay. There's this old video titled Don't Be a Sucker. It's an old World War II era video about what Germany was up to and how it could happen here in America. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating to watch what they were warning against. Give this a listen. It kind of reminds me of old Looney Tunes episodes. The Army Pictorial Service Signal Corps. Don't be a sucker. See, I don't know if you can tell, but they were trying to portray this as obviously staged at the time. You'll understand why in a second. But wrestling was exposed as complete theater, I think in the 30s. And if I remember correctly, it was the New York Times who decided they weren't going to record or write about the results anymore because they found out that it was staged in the 1930s. That's why they're portraying it this way.
This looks like a fake, doesn't it? Well, it is a fake. But here's a fella who's willing to bet his hard-earned money on it. Henry here got on the train with $200. He couldn't see any harm in a friendly game of cards. What if the other men were strangers? And take Joe Collins. He's got a nice wife at home. But he met this girl at the bar, and she looked kinda cute after the first couple of drinks.
For those who may just be listening, he's just pistol whipped and knocked out by a guy, taking advantage of the fact that he trusted this woman like a sucker, right? Don't be a sucker.
There's a good old-fashioned word for people like this. We call them suckers. And there are other people. People who stay up nights figuring out how to take away what they've got. There are all kinds of games and all kinds of suckers. Take Mike here, for instance. He's got everything, you might say. He's young, he's healthy, he's got a job. And he's got a country called America. It's a wonderful thing to have. America. Lots of room. Room enough to raise plenty of food. Big factories to make things a man can use.
The point they're laying down here is they're about to talk about immigration and how immigrants are evil and they're causing problems and filling up space and everything else. We have plenty of room in America. We don't need to worry about not having enough space.
Big cities to do the business of a big country. And people. Lots of people. Enough to work the farm and build the factories, dig the mines, and run the business. All kinds of people. People from different countries with different religions, different colored skins.
If you notice, you see black and white and Asian, which was a big deal at the time, playing baseball together, worshiping at the same church. This is in 1948, I think, just a couple years after the war had ended. Maybe we were still in Germany and in Japan denazifying when this was made. I'm not actually sure when it was made specifically. This was immediately after, is the point.
Free people.
Asian, black, white. You didn't see that in the 1940s. But this was a problem in Germany. The racism, the hatred, it was all a problem in Germany.
They can live together and work together and build America together because they're free. Free to vote, to say what they pleased, go to their own churches, to pick their own jobs. Yeah, Mike's got something, all right. He's got America. But there are guys who stay up nights figuring out how to take that away from him.
I want to give you the truth, folks. The truth about America. I know you've got a lot of questions. You want to know why you're not getting the breaks you deserve. Well, I'm not a politician, but I've made it my business to study these things, and I happen to know the facts. Now, friends, I'm just an average American. But I'm an American, and some of the things I see in this country of ours make my blood boil. I see people with foreign accents making all the money.
You hearing the racism? The hatred? Something I discovered a while back is that racism is not innate. It doesn't have to exist. It exists solely and completely because somebody wants to get something out of you. That's it. It would not exist if it weren't taught. It is a fully and completely taught thing. Racism is.
I see Negroes holding jobs that belong to me and you. Now I ask you, if we allow this thing to go on, what's going to become of us real Americans?
I've heard this kind of talk before, but I never expected to hear it in America.
This fellow seems to know what he's talking about.
Yes, he knows all right.
What's the answer? What are we real Americans going to do about it? You'll find it right here in this little pamphlet. The truth about Negroes and foreigners. The truth about the Catholic Church. Now, friends, these books are free. Paid for by real Americans who want others to know the truth.
Excuse me, young man, but are you actually going to read that stuff?
Sure, why not? You heard what he said, didn't you?
Yes, I heard. But do you believe in that kind of talk?
I don't know, makes pretty good sense to me.
I'm speaking to you as an American. And I tell you, friends, we'll never be able to call this country our own until it's a country without. Without what? Yeah, without what? Without Negroes. Without alien foreigners. Without Catholics. Without Freemasons. You know these people.
What's wrong with the Masons? I'm a Mason.
Nothing's wrong with the Masons. Nothing is wrong with the Catholics. Nothing is wrong with the Jews. The point is they split people off one by one so that they can get everybody good and divided from each other. They attack the trans community, and when they do, Mexicans join in. Yeah, those trans people, they're weird, huh? They're evil, they're bad, they're grooming our children. Then they attack Mexicans or immigrants or whatever. And they get trans people to join in on that. Yeah, I'm one of them. I'm one of the guys. I'm one of the people, one of the Republicans who also hates immigration. We need a sensible border policy. There's always somebody else to attack. The pagans, the atheists. That's how it works. That's how it has worked for generations.
Hey, that fellow's talking about me.
And that makes a difference, doesn't it?
These are your enemies. These are the people who are trying to take over our country. Now you know them. You know what they stand for. And it's up to you and me to fight them. Fight them and destroy them before they destroy us. Thank you.
Before he said Masons, you were ready to agree with him.
Well, yes, but he was talking about, well, about those other people.
But in this country, we have no other people. We are American people, all of us.
What about you? You aren't American, are you?
I was born in Hungary, but now I am an American citizen. And I have seen what this kind of talk can do.
I happen to know a lot about Hungary in World War II because I wrote about it at length in my book, God's People. Amazon and Audible if you want to find it. Like I said before, there was the Arrow Cross Party, and the Arrow Cross Party was effectively like the Nazi Party. They were hyper-nationalists. Like, they called themselves I believe, hang on, let me just verify that this word is not, yeah, okay. They called themselves Magyars, Magyar, at the time. I want to make sure that wasn't the deprecated term. And it's basically like ethnic Hungarian that traditionally controlled a certain region in that area. And they were nationalists. They believed that they had a unique right to control this region, and that it had been stolen from them. And the Arrow Cross was just completely out of their fucking gourds, willing to murder or do whatever it took to take control of the region. And they enjoyed the shit out of it. They enjoyed every minute of it, just like the Nazis. They enjoyed doing this insane, evil shit. I went through Hungarian archives to find information for this chapter of my book, Chapter 8. And each chapter stands independently of the rest. If you want to read them, the goal was to write like 11 biographical essays about lesser-known figures in World War II. That one was about Father Kuhn, who famously said, "In the name of Christ, fire," as the Arrow Cross party members raised their guns and killed a bunch of Jews up against a wall. In the name of Christ, fire. He was a Catholic priest. Anyway, I know a lot about Hungary, is the point, and it's from World War II, and it's fascinating. You should definitely check out my book if you're interested. It was horrifying. The whole thing was very, very horrifying.
Saw it in Berlin.
What were you doing there?
I was a professor at the university. I heard the same words we have heard today. But I was a fool then. I thought Nazis were crazy people, stupid fanatics. But unfortunately, it was not so.
You know, Patton, like General Patton, when he was working to overthrow the Nazis and then overseeing the denazification effort in Germany, he actually condemned denazification and said that it was not extreme enough to bother with. That we shouldn't bother trying to denazify people. This is just their honestly held beliefs, and it's not that bad. It's not that big of a deal. It was this massive, like, scandal at the time. So big that he had to leave. Like, he had to give up or whatever. He had to quit as a general. And bizarrely, a lot of the beliefs that were being espoused in Germany at the time are making a comeback right now. And people don't seem to care. I mean, if Patton had said that shit today, nobody would give a shit. Everybody would be fine with it. It's disturbing as hell, honestly.
You see, they knew that they were not strong enough to conquer a unified country. So they split Germany into small groups. They used prejudice as a practical weapon to cripple the nation. Of course, that was not easy to do. They had to work hard to do it. You see, we human beings are not born with prejudices. Always they are made for us, made by someone who wants something. Remember that when you hear this kind of talk. Somebody is going to get something out of it, and it isn't going to be you. This is not classroom theory. I saw it happen. I saw it first in Berlin in 1932. 5 young men that I knew were standing in the crowd listening to the Nazi speaker. Eric was a Catholic. Anton, a student of mine, was a Jew. Heinrich owned a small hardware store. Karl was a farmer. And Hans was an unemployed metal worker.
To all true Aryan Germans, I say it is time you inherited the nation which rightfully belongs to you. To you alone belongs the glorious destiny of the greater Germany. The Nazi Party will provide land for the farmer, work for the worker, and profits for the small businessman. Who is getting these things now? The Jew. The Jew who has stolen our nation and our birthright. Who makes all the money and takes all our jobs? The Jew! He must be shunned. He must be ostracized. He must be eliminated.
And of course, none of that was true. It was all lies. And I don't know if people realize this, but at the time, it was viewed as an immigration problem. Jews in Germany were viewed as an immigration problem. They were immigrants. Saying the Jewish question was like saying the immigrant problem. The similarities to today are truly disturbing.
And the Catholics. We don't want our great nation run by a foreign church. We Germans will know what to do with these people when the time comes. They and their faith must be destroyed. Then there are the Freemasons. In Germany, we have no place for secret societies. There will be only one society, and that is the Nazi Party. There will be no secrecy about that in the new Greater Germany.
One by one, he attacked each minority and he split them off one from the other. These men were all fellow Germans when they came here today. Now they were split into rival groups, suspicious of each other, hating each other. They were being swindled, all of them. But the man who was really being fooled was Hans. He was pure German, according to Nazi standards. To him they promised everything, and he fell for it.
You who are true Aryan Germans will share the glorious destiny of our fatherland. You are the pure-blooded, the master race. It is your divine right to rule, and the Nazi Party stands ready to put you into power. It is for you to command all Germany, and someday the entire world.
That's how Hans became a Superman. They gave him a uniform and they pumped up his ego. He wasn't just a little fellow out of work anymore. He was a member of the master race. His wife couldn't quite understand. Even though he was a Superman, there wasn't any food in the house. Stupid woman. Didn't she realize that the Nazis were going to make jobs for everybody? There would be plenty of food and clothing and a new house. Everything they wanted.
Yeah, the Nazis did create a very prosperous economy in Germany for people who were not slaves. They built their economy off of slave labor. That's what it was all based around. And even then, they were suffering, especially during the war. They were ramping up into a war economy from 33 to 39, give or take, when the war actually started. And people were doing without. But they were used to going without because of the hyperinflation of 1923, but that's a whole nother story.
The glorious future of Germany was to be theirs, and their children would someday rule the world. But his wife, silly woman, still wondered where the next meal was coming from. Hans didn't like that kind of talk. It was dangerous. For that kind of talk, people should be put in jail. Hans had swallowed the bait, all right. And these were the men who baited the hook. Why? So that Hans could come to power? Of course not. So they could come to power. They would merely use Hans to help them get there. He would do the dirty work for them. Hans and thousands of others like him, all playing a sucker's game. They gambled with other people's liberty, and of course they lost their own. A nation of suckers. Hitler needed these people. There was lots of work to be done. There were trade unions to be smashed, because unions were organized and might offer resistance. There were many political parties in Germany. These the Nazis destroyed. They were determined to smash every organization where people might band together and resist them. There were Jews to be beaten and killed. The Jews were not powerful, but they were a convenient excuse for all the nation's ills. And besides, a Nazi party member could not take over this man's stall. Hundreds of Catholics were put in jail because the Catholic Church had strength and could resist the Nazi drive for power. They had split the nation into 100 pieces, and then one by one, they had destroyed the pieces. Over these broken pieces, the Nazis rode into power. One party, one nation, one religion. These men had won their struggle for power. They now...
Hitler on the left, Himmler, and then Goebbels and Göring on the right, or Göring. Probably how it's pronounced. Göring is more accurate. Anyway, I love how they portray Göring here. They're portraying him as a little bit on the portly side, I guess you could say. When they arrested Göring, famously, they had to get a different airplane to fit him in because he was bigger than they expected. He was within expected or acceptable limits. It wasn't like he weighed like 700 pounds or something. But, you know, he was definitely larger than people expected him to be. Just an evil human being.
Now ruled all of Germany. But still they had trouble with their oldest and most persistent enemy, the truth. They found that truth does not die easily. And so they decided to abolish truth. One great source of truth is literature. So they burned books, 20 million of them. Many great men in Germany who were spokesmen for truth were jailed or driven from their country. Teachers, writers, scientists. Education was discouraged. In 5 years, college attendance dropped 53%.
Any of this sounding familiar? Education is discouraged, especially. Hang on. Give me a second here.
Our schools.
I'm just looking for something. How far back did the game glitched out, and I was really hoping I didn't. Yeah, I think I'm good. Give me a second.
They are a couple of the young guns.
No. Hold on. I'm just looking for something specific here. There are a billion examples of people discouraging education, but here.
Dad, you're raising him right.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Yeah, we've been to rallies all over the country. We're out down in Florida in December for the Bill O'Reilly History Tour. So he put in an appearance there, and then we were in Omaha and Des Moines. So, yeah, this is our thing, going around and supporting our next president.
And as a parent, how important is it to you to bring your child with you to make sure that they're learning about the importance of our country?
Well, I think it's real important because I'm not so sure that they're getting a lot of this in school now.
They're not getting a lot of this? A lot of what? A lot of people dressing up like Trump? Well, you'd be mistaken, sir. So it was unrelated.
It was forbidden to listen to a British radio program or read an American newspaper. In Nazi Germany, you had to get your information from Dr. Goebbels. He knew what was best for you. You couldn't see this movie or listen to this music. And you couldn't watch Joe Louis fight because the champion had black skin. He disproved Hitler's theory of Nordic supremacy.
Yeah, and Hitler really wasn't happy when Jesse Owens won in the Olympics. But actually, you know how Hitler eventually explained why, a black person would win in an athletic competition against a white person? Something called racehorse theory, aka the idea that black people were bred to be very strong and fast and blah, blah, blah. It's complete nonsense. It's not how anything works. If, by the way, racehorse theory is something that Trump publicly, personally endorses. He says he agrees with racehorse theory. He thinks that people's genes dictate their value and that manifests as how rich you are when you get a little bit older. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that Hitler, Trump, eugenicists generally believe that black people are only successful because they've been bred to be successful. And it takes like 10,000 years to actually breed that quality of successful in one given thing in dogs. It takes like 10,000 years to do that. And it has to be selective, specific breeding. It can't just be like, we're going to own slaves for 250 years and just hope that this thing arises. No, you have to prevent interbreeding between whatever. You have to, build this very specific, intentional pipeline to get what you want out of it. It just doesn't work that way. And the idea that it does, endorsed by Hitler and Trump, is pure delusion. You just don't understand science.
Albert Einstein, one of the world's great scientists, disproved that theory too. He was non-Aryan, so he had to leave Germany. His mind was dedicated to the search for truth, and the Nazis, having sold a lie, were most afraid of truth. The church was one force in Germany still strong enough to proclaim the truth in public.
But they didn't. This is an area of expertise, of my expertise. Sorry, hang on. I consider myself an expert in church history during the Nazi era. It's called the Kirchenkampf era, basically, of Germany. The church struggle era, where Hitler was trying to take over the church by force and succeeding, having mixed results or mixed successes. The church very famously did not stand up for anybody except for themselves at best during World War II era Germany. I don't want to fucking hear it.
No doubt is possible that we Christians are in a grave battle. Against us stands a faith out of blood. The battle signals range from cool repudiation to hate-filled causes. Weapons are used that centuries have dulled. The aim of this battle is to dislodge Christianity from our fatherland.
This Catholic priest was arrested the following day on charges of immorality.
Boy, it would have been fucking awesome if that actually happened. Most Catholic priests said absolutely nothing at all. Some were in favor of the Nazi government, and a very, very tiny minority spoke out against Hitler. But Hitler did not have these Catholic priests arrested for speaking out against him. He had them arrested because he wanted to control the Vatican, control the Pope. He had made an agreement with the Pope called the Lex Concordat, and it basically outlined expectations for the Catholic Church. They would instruct all of their bishops and priests and everybody to swear an oath of loyalty to Hitler, and they did, every one of them. And in return, Hitler would allow them to control the school system. He would allow them to teach the children about Catholicism in schools. He would keep the schools religious. Something the Catholic Church had to learn the hard way, though, is that you cannot trust a dictator's promises. You can't trust a dictator's promises. Hitler basically violated the Reichskonkordat on day one. And Hitler was, or the Pope was really unhappy with Hitler. And Hitler, you know, there's just like a lot of tension between them. So they started coming to blows figuratively until one or the other broke. And Hitler's method of coming to blows with them was having priests arrested for taking advantage of children. Did these Catholic priests take advantage of children? Probably. Yeah, I would say at least many of them. Absolutely. But it was very much politically motivated. This stuff would have never gone to court if Hitler had not instructed them to arrest very specific individuals. And because of what Hitler did, by selectively telling the Nazis to arrest certain Catholics, to arrest certain Catholic priests, it was basically against the law or against the regulations to invest any Catholic priest for taking advantage of children for 50 years after World War II ended.
The Protestant Church also continued to try and fight for truth.
They absolutely did not. This is rewriting the history. They very famously did absolutely nothing. They very famously kept their mouths shut. They said and did nothing.
He who desires liberty for himself cannot deny it to others, lest he lose what he has gained. This is the great lesson the world can learn from Germany.
The Nazis put this man in a concentration camp. There were others who spoke for truth, and I am proud to say that educators were among them.
The vast majority of educators, believe it or not, were pro-Nazi in Germany. Teachers were disproportionately pro-Nazi.
And what, may I ask, is an Aryan? I don't know myself. But let us see what our present so-called authorities have to say about it. They say he is tall.
That's Goebbels, the propaganda minister.
Slender.
Goering, famous for being a fat ass.
Blue-eyed.
Rudolf Hess, best friends with Hitler, helped edit Mein Kampf at least a little bit. The highest-ranking member of the Thule Society, that weird, mysterious group that was like into paganism or whatever, and a complete nutcase at the end of the day. The last surviving Nazi lived until I think 1987. I think he was like 90-something, and he killed himself. Lived in a one-man prison. He was allowed to live when the others were not because he pretended to have amnesia through the entire trial.
And blonde. There is no Aryan race. And more important, there is no master race. There are people who may find these ideas convenient, but science cannot support them. There is no scientific proof that there's any correlation between a man's racial characteristics and his native ability or character.
You notice all the kids are, well, they're not really kids. These look like adults that they pulled from, like, latrine duty when they were filming this. They're like, hey, we need some kids. bring in the youngest people you've got. And they brought in some like 30-year-olds or something, put armbands on them. They're like, yeah, these are a good representation of 16-year-old Germans in school, right?
Racial characteristics and his native ability or character. In all racial groups, we find the same range of potentialities. We find idiots and geniuses. We find criminals and philanthropists. We must judge each man as an individual and not by the color of his skin or his eyes.
Very progressive position for the United States to hold in 1948, right? I mean, they didn't hold this as a matter of policy, but wow, to even put this down on, like, you know, in film, that's actually very impressive and interesting.
Or by the length of his nose. Come in, gentlemen. Make yourselves comfortable. There are many differences between individuals. We each have different capabilities, different backgrounds, different views about what's right and what's wrong. Like the difference between me and these gentlemen who have just arrived. But that is not the difference in race. It is a difference in the way we think. Remember that. And remember that there is no master race. That is a scientific truth. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying.
It's fascinating how they portrayed this, right? That is absolutely what happened, 100%. People were afraid to speak out about their beliefs, about what they felt about the Nazi movement, because if they did, something, you know, they'd end up in a concentration camp, and they did very often.
And so for all practical purposes, truth had been abolished in Germany. A lot of my German friends wondered what had hit them. How did it happen? Where did it start? It started right here. And this was where it could have been stopped. If those people had stood together, if they had protected each other, they could have resisted the Nazi threat. Together they would have been strong. But once they allowed themselves to be split apart, they were helpless. When that first minority lost out, everybody lost out. They made the mistake of gambling with other people's freedom. Now let's see how those bets paid off. Karl the farmer was gambling on a better life for himself. What he got was extra hours of back-breaking work, as much as 100 hours a week. He was forced to stay on his land and produce what he was told to produce. Because
again, the economy is very much built on slave labor.
Because now Hitler was preparing for war. For Heinrich, who owned a hardware store, the bet didn't pay off either. 104,000 small businesses were closed in 2 years. And for Hans, conditions hadn't improved any. He had a job now in the munitions factory, but he worked long hours for little pay. The working conditions grew increasingly bad. And even though he didn't like the job, he wasn't permitted to leave it. There still wasn't enough food in his house. Hitler said you couldn't have butter and cannon. So Hans couldn't have butter. And when Hitler decided the time was right, Germany went to war. Not by declaring war, but by a carefully prepared sneak attack. Once again, Hitler needed Hans to do his dirty work. Hans was an expert at brutality by this time. And Hitler had decided to use Hans and his brutality against other peoples, the Czechs, the Poles, the French, the Russians. But in the crucial test of war, Hitler's race theories didn't pay off. His pure-blooded supermen were defeated by the mongrel armies he despised. By the British at El Alamein. by the Russians at Stalingrad. And then on D-Day by American soldiers of every color and religion, who smashed across the Normandy beaches and drove on through to the heart of Germany. For the misguided Germans who had swallowed the Nazi bait, the Nazi game did not pay off. The continent of Europe was strewn with millions of German bodies, pure Aryan bodies. Karl, the farmer, was left in the snow outside of Moscow. Heinrich stayed in Italy at Salerno. And Hans, who was going to rule the world, got only a little patch of Normandy that he could call his own. We must never let that happen to us or to our country. We must never let ourselves be divided by race or color or religion, because in this country we all belong to minority groups. I was born in Hungary. You are a Mason. These are minorities. And then you belong to other minority groups too. You are a farmer. You have blue eyes. You go to the Methodist Church. Your right to belong to these minorities is a precious thing. You have a right to be what you are and say what you think, because here we have personal freedom. We have liberty. And these are not just fancy words.
I feel like the Republican Party has just completely given up on all of that, right? I feel like they don't give a fuck about any of that anymore. And they're completely ready to walk away from democracy and, in fact, welcome the United States walking away from democracy completely. Even say democracy is bad, that we aren't a democracy. Is that not like spitting in the face of people who died for democracy? Like genuine, I mean, World War II casualties, people who went to Germany and fought in World War II to end the Nazi scourge. Is that not spitting in their face for these politicians to say some of this shit?
This is a practical and priceless way of living, but we must work at it. We must guard everyone's liberty, or we can lose our own. If we allow any minority to lose its freedom by persecution or by prejudice, we are threatening our own freedom.
Right. You don't give up other people's freedoms. You don't do it. You're next if you choose to do that. When you start giving up freedoms, it doesn't stop at other people's.
And this is not simply an idea. This is good, hard common sense. You see, here in America is not a question whether we tolerate minorities. America is minorities. And that means you and me. So let's not be suckers.
So he tore up his tract that he got from the scumbag.
We must not allow the freedom or dignity of any man to be threatened by any act or word. Let's be selfish about it. Let's forget about we and they. Let's think about us.
Yeah, I mean, that's the end, but kind of let me just draw this out for you. Nationalism and patriotism. People like that scumbag up there with the tract are spreading a nationalist idea. A nationalist concept of America. What's the difference? In patriotism, somebody would buy cleats and jerseys for their son's football team. In nationalism, you would poison the quarterback to get your son into that position of quarterback. In one of them, you're sacrificing your own time or resources. That's patriotism. And in nationalism, you're sacrificing other people and excluding other people from the good group. You know, the quarterback is one of your team members, but in a nationalistic kind of perspective, only you or your designated group deserve to lead. That's the difference between nationalism and patriotism. And when you hear people talking about us versus them, good versus evil, they're thinking nationalism. When you're living in a patriotic way, you're sacrificing for your community, doing what you can for us, all of us. We are all working together to survive, to do better, to whatever. That's patriotism. So these ridiculous, nonsensical, fake patriots you see out here with these ridiculous flags, they're not helping their community. They're not making things better for their community. They're not donating to the people around them. They're trying to exclude people from their little group and control everything and sacrificing your well-being for what they want. That's the difference. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. It's disturbing that we have to bring this up again after 75 years. All right, let's see. So that was really long, but that's okay. Don't Be a Sucker started at 39 and ended at 1:27. Okay. Not terrible. Could have been worse, I suppose. Let's see. What else do we want to cover? So we hit the midterms, right? Did we? Yes, we did hit the midterms. Let's hit Jehovah's Witnesses real fast. Jehovah's Witnesses released an interesting video recently. Give this a listen. This is Jeffrey Jackson, governing body member.
We've had persons say all sorts of ridiculous accusations about us, even
totally ridiculous,
saying that we hide up and cover over child abuse. And yet Jehovah's Witnesses have the highest standards of morals of any group in the whole world.
I don't know about you, sir, but I think I am a very moral person. Are you saying you are more moral than me? Here's the thing. Yes, Jehovah's Witnesses do have a moral compass, unique to other groups. Not every group has a moral compass like they do. However, in any demographic of people, you're going to get people who take advantage of children, period. Okay? That's it. That's all there is to it. And Jeffrey Jackson, head over millions of people, 9 million people, knows that. He knows that. You could say Jehovah's Witnesses have a lower rate of taking advantage of children if you want. I don't know that that's even accurate. I'm just saying that's an argument you could make, right? But you can't say Jehovah's Witnesses do not take advantage of children. What is the rate? 4 or 5%? Hell, 1 or 2% who take advantage of children? I don't know. It's somewhere in that range. And when it happens, here's the hang up. You have to report it. The issue is that they haven't been reporting, and in fact, instructed members of Jehovah's Witnesses to not report it to the police. They instructed the elders to not report child abuse to the police for something like 60 years until fairly recently when they changed that policy. I think 2019 they officially changed that policy. Because it would bring reproach on Jehovah's name for the secular authorities to know that Jehovah's Witnesses, that some Jehovah's Witness was taking advantage of a child. And they should handle it internally, not turn them over to the cops. And what does that mean? It means disfellowship them. That's it. It doesn't mean put them in federal fucking prison for 30 years for raping a child. It means disfellowship them. And keep it quiet. Everything else, no, the outside world doesn't know, so we don't bring reproach on Jehovah's name. The interesting thing, something I discovered when writing my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, was that they actually instructed throughout time, Jehovah's Witness elders in their elders manual to link up with the local police department, communicate with them, be friendly with them, form a relationship with the police department in case of fire or harassment or burglary or whatever. A representative from the congregation is supposed to have a police contact for emergency cases. And again, that's been the standing rule for 50, 60, 70 years. But they instructed the elders not to report child abuse to the police. Isn't that interesting? So it was really all about protecting their reputation, right? There is no way around that. It was solely about protecting their reputation. Anyway, keep listening to what he says here. This is Jeffrey Jackson, right? It's not Mark Sanderson. I always get him confused.
Witnesses have the highest standards of morals of any group in the whole world. So we shouldn't be surprised if there are ridiculous accusations thrown at us.
Well, that's the interesting part. The courts don't think that they're ridiculous. The problem is that they instructed the police, or the problem is they instructed their people not to report to the police, and they had a 2-witness rule in addition to all of that. The rule was from the Old Testament, basically, if 2 people did not witness an event taking place, it's like it didn't happen. And the rule existed in the Old Testament to guarantee contracts were signed. You know, you sell a donkey to your best friend, and then your best friend turns on you and says, I didn't sell him that donkey, he stole it. 2 witnesses can be present to witness the sale of that donkey to validate that that happened. The 2-witness rule. And fascinatingly, the Bible explicitly says, do not apply this to gross criminal conduct. But what did Jehovah's Witnesses do? Of course they applied it to gross criminal conduct. If 2 witnesses don't come forward to say, I witnessed this man raping a child, it's as though it didn't happen. They very kindly, and with the guidance of Jehovah back in the 90s, I believe, loosened it to either 2 witnesses or 2 victims to separate events. You don't have to have 2 witnesses to the same event to get this person disfellowshipped. You can have 2 separate victims. So the result of that was child abusers were taking advantage of children in the congregation, and when they were accused, they would move to a new congregation and start abusing another child. Because there was only 1 victim, 1 witness, and the old congregation couldn't report it to the new congregation because and the old congregation couldn't report it to the new congregation. It was as though it never happened. Jehovah's Witnesses, though, the organization, have a list of somewhere around, estimated to be about 25,000 names of people who did this in a blue folder. This came out in court records that this exists. So anyway, the point is, your set of rules literally got people taken advantage of. Children. They were taken advantage of because of what they did. Because of their set of rules. Jehovah's Witnesses' set of rules. And they're pretending to be persecuted like fucking Jesus.
That's exactly what happened to Jesus. But what do many people do when a ridiculous accusation is thrown at them? Well, they might end up going to court to try and settle it. And we have done that at times. But what we need to remember is that in the case of Jesus, he was taken to court. The Jewish authorities, they had their reasons, their political and economic reasons and religious reasons why they still found him guilty. Then he was taken to a Roman judge. And he, although he knew Jesus was innocent, still caved into political pressure. So again, we shouldn't be surprised if similar things happen today.
Right. Anytime we're found guilty of something, it's judges caving to political pressure. It's not us being negligent at best. It's judges caving to political pressure. Totally. That checks out.
It's like if you're playing a game of soccer. If you look carefully at this picture, what do you see? The umpire is calling out the player. He's accusing him of doing something wrong. But what do we see in the background? Some money changing hand. Corruption. Now, of course, it may not happen so blatantly, but we know that in Satan's world there are many factors sometimes that we're not aware of that are going on in the background. Corruption, political issues, and so on. So really, in one way, it's as if we're playing the game, but according to different rules to what the world is using. And the world changes the rules as they go along in accordance with their own desires. Well, it's nice.
Right, I don't know what that means. The world changes the rules in accordance with their own desires? I mean, I think that there's a standard that we can all follow and appreciate. Report child abuse to the police. Period. I don't know what standard you think is moving there or whatever, but it has always been virtuous to report child abuse to police.
If court cases come in our favor.
It's nice if they come in our favor.
And Jehovah's name is praised. But more often than not, we find that the hatred of the world is manifested by the decisions made by worldly courts. Yes, just like Jesus was found guilty of doing something that he didn't do, so likewise, we should never, ever be surprised by the ridiculous accusations hurled at us.
Again, this is verified, factual information. This absolutely happened. They absolutely covered up and protected people who take advantage of children. That is beyond question. We know that for a fact. And the fact that he's pretending otherwise is vile. I'm sorry, man. That is fucking disgusting. Hold on. Right? 1 second here. Check this clip out. This is a 15-minute video. We're not going to watch the whole thing. There's a 1-minute version here.
We're good? Well, good morning, everyone. We are here today to announce that the 49th Investigative Grand Jury has voted on and approved presentments for 5 individuals who have committed sexual abuse against children throughout Pennsylvania. These cases, as all of them are disturbing and sad. But this one, in particular, digs deeper. Because in this case, all of the defendants and all of the victims come from the same religious organization, the Jehovah Witnesses. Some of these defendants even use their faith communities to prey upon the victims. And
that shouldn't be possible. It shouldn't be possible to use your faith community, the Jehovah's Witness organization, to prey on people. Is that the kind of organization that Jehovah would set up? That's the problem here, ultimately. That this infrastructure exists in such a way that it can be taken advantage of by bad people, and there are no repercussions.
Their faith communities to prey upon the victims, and others had to look no further than their own families.
So anyway, the point is that Jehovah's Witnesses, the organization, is pretending to be persecuted like Jesus was. I'm sorry. Try not covering up child abuse, and you won't be viewed negatively. Tell me what you think in the comments. That one felt very, very short compared to the length of the others. How long was that one? 141. So that was about 14 minutes. Not too bad. 4. Jehovah's Witnesses, complete. MAGA regrets. Islam. I watched this TV show called Flashpoint. It's completely insane. Listen to what they had to say about people in the Middle East. It's, believe it or not, extremely racist.
Like that. It's like, it doesn't matter that they're, to them, it doesn't matter that they're broke.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter
Talking about people in the Middle East, in Iran specifically.
how many of their own people have died. That does not matter. That's what's so hard for a Western mind to grasp this battle that we're in.
AKA a white mind, right? What a wild thing to say about somebody. The mind of an Arab is just different from the mind of a white person, right? Just different from the mind of somebody in the West.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, we don't. They don't think like us or any other rational people. This is what this.
Holy fucking shit, dude! Every now and then I come across something on Flashpoint that is just so egregiously, blatantly racist and evil. I don't understand how they can say and do the shit that they are saying and doing right now. Genuinely fucking wild.
This is what having an Islamic regime for that many years unchecked leads to. And, you know, I was really curious as Trump was saying that, though. You know, it seems like to me, I mean, I'm not an expert on this, but I'm just throwing this out there like, why don't we just keep control of the straits? Like, what kind of investment do we have to make in order to keep our military there and you know, essentially do what we've done in other places around the world where we had to keep the peace? And
he's literally giving the argument to stay in Afghanistan, to stay in Iraq. How long, Rick Green, do you want to stay in other people's territory? How much money are you willing to spend? Or, more accurately, light on fucking fire? How much? To teach these brown people who don't think like us a lesson.
You know, open the canal or open whatever it might be. And maybe we're the ones that need to charge a tax. Maybe we make a deal with all these countries to say, all right, we're going to obliterate Iran if they so much as, you know, harm one ship when it comes through. And we're just going to stay here, you know, for the foreseeable future. I don't know. I'm sure they've game planned that out. I'm sure that's been just
totally. I bet. Yeah, they've absolutely game planned that out, right? They've been thinking about this for a while, coming up with solutions. Sounds just like the Trump administration.
Discussed and considered, and it's essentially what we're doing at this point. But I mean, I just assume do that as you know, give Iran any chance whatsoever to threaten the straits ever again. And the economic boom that is to everyone, even just lowering the insurance rates for each of those, you know, $400 million worth of oil on a ship coming through, seems like it'd be worth it. But again, I say that somewhat out of ignorance because it's not my area of expertise.
Wow, no fucking shit. The point is that they, on the right, are coming against Islam to a degree I haven't seen in a very long time. They're demonizing it like wild right now. Like, Islam is considered the root of all evil and corrupting everything and everybody and the whole nine. I'm sorry, if you give me just 1 second. I'm just trying to pull this up. I I was going to listen to a news article. I did not realize that Bookforge was pulled down, so I have to pull up Bookforge after rebuilding it. And then I have to start my audio server. And then I have to render the first sentence. That's somewhere in the range of 3 minutes of waiting, 2 or 3 minutes. So we'll continue without it for a minute. Actually, give me just 1 second. I'm going to pull something up real fast. Actually, I'm going to let you guys listen to this for a minute. This is the announcement for Jehovah's Witnesses. I'll be right back.
We're good? To 5 individuals who have committed sexual abuse against children throughout Pennsylvania. Let me begin first by thanking the members of the Office of Attorney General who have assisted with this case. First Deputy Attorney General James Donahue, Deputy Chief of Staff Kirsten Hyde, Executive Deputy Attorney General Michelle Walsh, Chief Deputy District Attorney Ron Eisenberg, Chief Deputy Attorney General Chris Jones, Assistant Chief Deputy Attorney General Dan Dye, to my left, Supervising Agent Doug Hilliard, Deputy Attorney General Alicia Warner, Special Agent Jimmy Muma, and Special Agent Steve Adamus. Let me also take a moment to thank the citizens, the men and women who served on the investigative grand jury. They took their time, they listened to difficult evidence, they evaluated that evidence, and they returned these charges. Finally, let me thank those that came forward, the survivors of child sexual abuse. They had a courageous voice. They came and they told us what had happened to them. And they make our community safer. We would not be here today without them. These cases, as all of them are disturbing and sad. But this one, in particular, digs deeper. Because in this case, all of the defendants and all of the victims come from the same.
As you can see, there's a baby on me. I have to take care of the baby for a minute. Because my wife is a little occupado at the moment, so we're going to take her. Oh, shit. We're going to take her, going to hold on to her. We're going to continue talking for a minute. I actually have everything I need, like, video-wise, so I think I would be okay if I wanted to end it here, but I think we can go through. If she starts being difficult, we'll call it. She's chewing on my arm. You can't see. But she does this. I don't know why she does this. She puts her mouth on my arm, just kind of like that, you know? I don't know what she's doing. There you go. She's not gonna be in the final version. You can only see half of her head. But rest assured, she's actually very cute. Yeah, I don't want her on social media. So I'm just, yeah, this is temporary. This will not be in the final version. She's gonna sit with me though, for now. Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool and all right here. Here you go. You gonna be good? You gonna be good? I hope she's gonna be good. Okay, TTS server started. Let's see, there's another, yeah, here. Bookforge, toggle controls on this page, play, Should take somewhere in the range of 20 to 40 seconds to pull up or to start the audio. She's looking around at everything. What are you looking at? Huh? What are you interested in right now? What is it you're interested in? You looking at my monitors? You doing production for me? I think she's doing production. Yeah, she's handling production. Do you want to hit a button? She doesn't understand. She's not listening. She can't understand me. The child is beautiful. Thank you so much. Yes. She got big, cute eyes and big cheeks. Okay, let me check my memory use. It should be playing any second now. Like I said, about 30 seconds before. Oh. It's actually finished multiple sentences, but has not started the one it's supposed to start.
And a troubling sign of how...
Okay, there we go. Miki's trying to get in now.
And a troubling sign of how Christian nationalists plan to extend their power. It appears that Texas Republicans...
I'm sorry, let me give some lead up into this. There's this article, conservative Christians in Texas are trying to harass Muslims out of existence. This is a running theme in the Republican Party right now.
And a troubling sign of how Christian nationalists plan to extend their power. It appears that Texas Republicans and the white evangelical Christians who prop them up are going to relentlessly harass innocent Muslims, like it's 2001 again.
Yeah, I wasn't, conscious, certainly not politically conscious in 2001, so I don't remember what it was like, but I've been told that it was fucking psychotic. Arm on the cob, yes, absolutely. Everything, it's shiny, new things, yes. Cute baby, thank you.
Instead of merely pretending that every Muslim, or anyone who passes for one, is an extremist, they're hoping that a conservative judiciary will help them redefine the law so that Muslims are just prevented from having the same rights as everyone else.
This is one of the most wild things to me. They're all in favor of religious freedom, quote unquote, supposedly, but they're not actually in favor of religious freedom at all, and are even talking about banning Islam now. Seriously. I did a video about this last week. If you didn't see it, you should check it out. They want to ban Islam now.
This isn't theoretical. It's been happening in isolation for years, but it now seems to be an unofficial strategy. A troubling front-page story in the New York Times this week summarizes not just the ways Muslims have been harassed in recent months, but the bigoted policy decisions that arguably violate Muslims' First Amendment rights.
And one of the big problems I have with it is that the media feeds into it. Not just right-wing media. You can expect left-wing media to not take shots at trans people, right? Probably. Sometimes. Or immigrants. They're probably not going to take shots at immigrants. But Islam is one of those unique minority groups that everybody will take a shot at. And the right knows that. They know it's a winning issue for that reason. And you get things like CNN doing videos, like full investigative reporting on child marriage in Middle Eastern countries. That's fantastic, CNN. Thank you for giving a shit about this. Why doesn't CNN give a shit about child marriage here in the United States, where it is legal to marry children? Like right now, it is legal to marry children. Why are they doing investigative reporting on Middle Eastern fucking countries when that thing is happening here now among Christians? Because Republicans started that fire. They started the fire, and CNN knows that they can benefit from it. So they're going to. It's dirty. It's sleazy. It's fucking disgusting. It's a minority group. Leave them alone. unless they're causing real problems here in the United States. I don't know of a single Muslim group in the United States that's gotten married to children. But you know what? If they did it in the United States, they should be subject to those laws as well, right? Why the fuck are you focused on some shit that doesn't affect us at all, when you could be working on something similar here? It's all about attention. It's all about clicks. That's it. She's staring at me, the baby. She's staring at me weird, looking at me like, what's wrong? Am I yelling too loud? Is that the problem? I'm sorry. I'm going to keep yelling, and you're just going to have to get used to it. That's who your dad is. I'm sorry, baby.
In recent months, a man was arrested and charged with making a terroristic threat at a major new Islamic center in Houston. Not far away in Conroe, a woman told Muslim shoppers at a grocery store they were not welcome in this state or this country. After losing her job, she received nearly $250,000 from supporters after a video of her comments circulated widely.
Wait, is this kind of like the N-word lady who called somebody the N-word and got like $1 million in GoFundMe donations or some shit like that?
In McKinney, a Dallas suburb, a woman grabbed a former mayor and stuffed paper with an anti-Muslim message down his shirt during a heated city council hearing over a mosque expansion. State leaders, including Gov. Greg Abbott and Attorney General Ken Paxton, have since opened investigations into Muslim institutions across Texas.
They're just looking for any opportunity to hurt minority groups. They're looking for an opportunity to divide people. That's it. And, hold on. And I covered this in a recent video on this channel, if you want to check it out. But in something like 1945, 1948, somewhere in there, the U.S. military released a video called Don't Be a Sucker about this very thing. About how they're trying to split people off, demonize them.
5 young men that I knew were standing in the crowd listening to the Nazi speaker. Eric was a Catholic. Anton, a student of mine, was a Jew. Heinrich owned a small hardware store. Karl was a farmer. And Hans was an unemployed metal worker.
To all true Aryan Germans, I say it is time you inherited the nation which rightfully belongs to you. To you alone belongs the glorious destiny of the greater Germany. The Nazi Party will provide land for the farmer, work for the worker, and profits for the small businessman. Who is getting these things now? The Jew. The Jew who has stolen our nation and our birthright. Who makes all the money and takes all our jobs? The Jew! He must be shunned. He must be ostracized. He must be eliminated. And the Catholics. We don't want our great nation run by a foreign church. We Germans will know what to do with these people when the time comes. They and their faith must be destroyed. Then there are the Freemasons. In Germany, we have no place for secret societies. There will be only one society, and that is the Nazi Party. There will be no secrecy about that in the new Greater Germany.
One by one, he attacked each minority and he split them off one from the other. These men were all fellow Germans when they came here today. Now they were split into rival groups, suspicious of each other, hating each other. They were being swindled.
That's what it's all about, baby. That's what these people do. That's why they do it. They do it to divide and conquer. It's not much deeper than that.
They've sought to block the real estate development and investigate religious divorce counseling. Mr. Abbott threatened to take state funding from Texas airports that provide ritual washing stations for Muslim travelers, ordered the cancellation of a private water park party celebrating a Muslim holiday, and labeled the Council on American Islamic Relations, a national civil rights group, as a terrorist group, a step that even the Trump administration has so far not taken. Florida followed Texas in applying the same label to Caire. And
to care, C-A-I-R.
short, if Muslims try to do what Christians always get to do, Republicans put up obstacles in their path. If Muslims are abused in public spaces, conservatives reward the harassers. If Muslims dare to take advantage of public spaces, right-wing bigots will find a way to block them from using it.
Like, you know, getting a permit to hold an event. That happened recently. There was some holiday that Shia Muslims celebrate in observation of a guy who was unjustly killed in like the 700s or something, 800s, I don't know. And they get a permit to do a march or whatever from City Hall down to some other street. It's like a parade. Who gives a fuck, right? They get a permit. They want to do their little march. They can do that. Who cares? And Christian nutcases show up and pretend, I was going to do a march today, even though they knew the previous year that they were doing that march that day. I was going to do a march here today, and now I can't because somebody else is doing it, and Muslims are taking over. Sean Foyt, or Fucht, or Sean Fucked, or whatever the fuck his name is, F-E-U-C-H-T. I'm calling him Sean Fucked. Like, they are obsessed with finding Muslims, and demonizing them. Finding any way they can to destroy these people's lives for no fucking reason. Just colossal evil scumbags is what they are. Hold on, I'm just looking here. Yeah, okay.
And if Muslim lawyers dare to push back, conservatives will just label them as terrorists, as if practicing Muslims and religious extremists are all one and the same. Each of these stories is horrific on its own. When you start seeing them on a regular basis like this, though, the trend becomes obvious. Conservative Christians and Republicans have decided terrorizing Muslims is perfectly acceptable, and virtually no one in their circles has both the platform and courage to call this out for what it is. Why would they, when Donald Trump has built his political career in part on dog whistles and attacks on Islamic communities? If Muslims spoke about Christians the way these Christians are speaking about Muslims, they might have a damn point.
Oh my God, can you imagine if Muslims spoke of Christians the way that they speak of Muslims? Holy shit, it would be wild. Muslims saying things like, Christianity isn't a religion, it's a death cult. It's a political movement, and it should be banned in the United States. Imagine a Muslim saying some shit like that. Christians would lose their fucking shit. You know why? Because Christians have a double standard. I mean, Christian nationalist extremists is really who I'm talking about. People like Sean Fucked, they have a double standard. By the way, if you don't know Sean Fucked, I should probably just show you who he is. He famously made a song about Charlie Kirk. This is Sean Fucked. They being the left, of course. The left killed Jesus. They pierced him on the side because the left is evil. And really, Jesus was a right-winger. He was a hardcore right-winger, right? He's actually got a very good voice. Like, truly impressive. Complete waste to burn up his talents on garbage like that. Anyway, yeah, Sean Fucked. F-E-U-C-H-T. That's his name. There was something else I wanted to mention. What was it? Oh God, my ears. That poor baby had to listen to basically toilet sounds. No, I thought about that for a second. I was like, should I let her listen? And I was like, no, she's not getting the other headphone, the other earphone. She's not hearing it on this side. It's coming through the headphones, so she's not hearing it. Oop, sorry. Did not mean to play that again.
But conservative Christians don't seem to care, as long as the hate only flows in one direction. There's a reason they're branded as Al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda, love it.
A pointless promise from John Cornyn during his failed re-election campaign. Screenshot.
No Sharia law, it says. No Sharia law.
Speaking of which, we haven't even...
Oh my God, dude, these people are so fucking painfully stupid.
Speaking of which, we haven't even gotten into what Republican politicians have said about Muslims, who are among their own constituents. Take Rep. Andy Ogles, the Tennessee Republican who declared last month that Muslims don't belong in American society. Since that post, Ogles has shared anti-Muslim content on X more than 100 times. Ogles is not alone either. Rep. Randy Fine, Arflo, wrote on X in February that, if they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Muslims is not a difficult one. He added this month, we need more...
Yeah, Okay. This is a dog whistle. This is the definition of a dog whistle, basically. Or a hidden message, anyway. At the time, there was this issue going on where right-wing scumbags were claiming that Muslims were trying to get dogs banned from New York City. It's complete nonsense. Nothing works that way. It would never work that way. Nobody is trying to do that. It's just total garbage, right? But they start this rumor, and now they say dogs are better than Muslims. It gives them an excuse to spread vile, hateful, racist, disgusting shit. And yes, I understand Islam is not a race, but racists use it as a stand-in for Arabs, obviously. Anyway, Randy Fine is an Israeli Zionist extremist and fucking hates Muslims with the burning passion of 1,000 hot suns, and will spread any racism about them that he possibly can. About anybody, racism, bigotry, hatred, whatever. Whatever you want to call it. So he says, if they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Muslims is not a difficult one. Vile piece of shit.
He added this month, we need more Islamophobia, not less. Sentami Tuberville, our Allah, meanwhile, recently shared photos of the 9/11 terror attacks alongside New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani with the caption,
damn, dude. That pronunciation by my TTS system, I am truly impressed. That was an elegant pronunciation.
Allah, meanwhile, recently shared photos of the 9/11 terror attacks alongside New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani with the caption, the enemy is inside the gates.
Just anybody, this is what I'm talking about. Anybody who does not look white or Christian is a Muslim terrorist. That's racism. Okay, yes, I get that Islam is a religion and not a race. You're profiling based on skin color here. That's racism. Hell, you know what? Fuck it. It's racism and bigotry. Bigotry being hatred for somebody because of the ideas that they hold, where racism is hating somebody for the color of their skin, and sexism is hating somebody because of their sex or whatever.
What did Speaker Mike Johnson do about those comments? Nothing, of course. He's a conservative white evangelical. You can't expect him to take the high road when his religion constantly teaches him to do the opposite. He's not interested in treating Muslims as if they are Americans with the same rights as him. He's interested in Christian supremacy. If this was just election year pandering, it'd be bad enough. But consider that Texas Republicans have already injected Christianity in public schools, through the curriculum and through Ten Commandments posters in classrooms, and then realize those are just the initial phases of a long-term plan. They even have a perfect laboratory to test their ideas, since there's a growing Muslim population in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The thinking goes, let's go after Muslims in that area, then expand from there. They want to make Muslims feel so unwanted and out of place that they remove themselves from society entirely.
It's truly wild to watch World War II era tactics in the United States. It is really, really weird to watch unfold in front of me. After studying World War II to the degree that I have and knowing what I do about it, it's fucking disturbing.
When the Republican legislature in Texas reconvenes next year, the Times says, they want to redefine religion so that it excludes Islam entirely, giving conservative Christians a pathway to restrict the civil rights of Muslims even further. In what would be an apparent first, one avenue being explored in Texas is to try to use state law to ban or regulate some Islamic cultural practices, such as tribunals for marriage and other decisions governed by religious rules, often referred to as Sharia law. Some want to do it as soon
Like, nobody is trying to institute Sharia law. Nobody has ever tried to do that in the United States. Fucking please.
as the Texas legislature meets next year. One of the first things we're going to try to do is define what a religion is, said State Representative Alan Schoolcraft.
Oh yeah, this is the tactic. This is the angle they've been taking. Islam is not a religion. It's a political movement, so it's safe to ban it. But Christianity, you see, is not a political movement at all. Nothing political about it. You see, it's entirely religious.
Tells San Antonio Republican, Islam itself is not just a religion. It's much more than a religion. How's that for a strategy? The freedom of religion no longer applies if you simply say a religion isn't actually a religion. Except Islam is very much a religion. The idea that Islam is any different, in that regard, from other faiths that have their own unique practices is ridiculous. It's deeply ironic that the bigots here often argue Islam is bad for women, given that many conservative Christians ban women from preaching.
Thank you so much. Carissa Wieland. I really appreciate that. 20 gift memberships. God damn, that is crazy. Thank you so much. That really means a lot. It was the baby, wasn't it? Was it the baby that did it? That is crazy, man. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Glad you're here. And to anybody who wasn't here and didn't get an opportunity to have a chance to get that gift membership, suck it. No, I'm just kidding. Please come back. All right. Thank you so much.
Demand their silence in church and promote child marriage. You would think that the fact that Muslim politicians like Zohran Mamdani or Repilan Omar or Abdul El-Sayed have never even suggested that their beliefs should become law for everyone would put an end to the Sharia law propaganda. But the people who are ignorant enough to believe that nonsense aren't interested in facts. They don't care that religious beliefs literally cannot override secular law, unless of course Christians do it, in which case the courts now say it's okay.
It's like really, really wild to me to watch these right-wing scumbags completely throw away their principles. Like, this supposed principle of freedom of religion goes right out the window. She's chewing on my arm right now. Probably see. She's just chewing on it. Don't know why. Anyway. Goes right out the window when it's inconvenient to them, when they can't use it as a political weapon. There is no principle to be found among these people.
For what it's worth, in 2010, during the Obama administration, the Justice Department argued against this very line of thinking, writing in a brief that Islam is plainly a religion, deserving of First Amendment protections. As the Times notes, however, that doesn't mean the Trump administration would say the same thing today. Just because it seems unlikely that a federal judge would go along with this batshit crazy theory, doesn't mean it can't happen. After all, conservatives have already succeeded in installing right-wing ideologues to lifetime appointments on the federal bench. But even if they succeed, this could backfire, because the idea that my religion isn't just a religion is one that conservative Christians have adopted for a long time. They're the one who constantly bristle whenever someone calls Christianity a religion. It's a relationship, they argue.
Oh my God, yes. I can't stand listening to people who say shit like that. Religion's the problem, okay? I'm not part of a religion. I'm part of a relationship. Like Greg Locke says that shit. That was my Greg Locke impression, by the way.
As Christianity Today deputy editor Bonnie Christian writes, many of our own religious liberty arguments I support, to be wholly clear, rest on the point that Christianity is not and cannot be confined to what we do inside the sanctuary on Sunday morning. If Texas were to define religion down because of Christians' discomfort with Muslims, what's to prevent that same redefinition squeezing Christians in the future?
Right? Well, here's how that little issue is solved. Just get Christians on the bench across the country. Christian judges, Christian lawyers, Christian lawmakers, Christian everybody. And then when these questions come up, they'll find a cute little legal way to sidestep the problem. See how that works? Christians get special treatment and control the government completely, and other religions get banned from the government. Or banned generally.
She's not wrong.
And yes, by the way, that is the point, to ban Islam. They are actually trying to ban Islam. It's not just, we don't want Sharia law or whatever stupid fucking bullshit they're doing. They're actually trying to ban Muslims from practicing their religion in the United States.
She's not wrong to point that out. The problem is that she's thinking steps ahead of conservatives in Texas. She's committing the cardinal sin of thinking about how rules meant to stifle other groups might be applied to her own, even though a hallmark of Christian nationalism is that rules are only ever meant to harm other people, not them. There's no sense of community or equal treatment under the law. There's just us versus them. And conservative Christians have been pretty damn successful, legally speaking, in getting away with things non-Christians would never be allowed to do.
Just fucking disturbing.
By the way, also consider that conservative Christians don't believe Catholics and Mormons are true Christians either. The idea that a redefinition of religion would spare non-Muslims is absurd. However this plays out, it's all the more reason for people who care about religious equality and church-state separation to defend those who simply want to practice their faith.
You know, this reminds me of, I think I just woke her. She was asleep and I started talking. I'm sorry, baby. This reminds me of how Pete Hegseth basically tried to remove legal definitions and protections of religious groups in the military not too long ago. You guys ever heard of the drop test? This is how you tell if a baby is asleep, right here. You grab an arm, you lift it, and if it falls freely, the kid's asleep. This arm is not actually falling freely. It looks like maybe it is, but it is not. This kid is not asleep yet. Anyway, he was basically defining religious groups out of the military, which means they don't get military religious protections and things like that. What's the point? Why? What is the point if not to hurt other people? There is no point behind this other than to hurt others, right? She just wants me to leave her arm alone. Yeah, she does. I'm not going to, though. I'm going to fuck with her arm and I'm going to tickle her little foot and everything. And that's all there is to it. That was me tickling her foot. Now she's moving around pissed off.
There's a huge difference between criticizing religion, fine, and defending the ability of people to believe and practice their faith in a way that doesn't harm others. Supporters of church-state separation ought to be able to do the latter without hesitation. We have to. No one else will. Republicans aren't interested in religious pluralism because their voters thrive on out-group hatred. Conservative Christian leaders aren't going to defend it because their ministries will suffer if they equate their faith with other religions. The Justice Department isn't about to uphold the law because it's currently run by people who actively oppose the Constitution. and it would be deeply unfair to expect Muslims to defend their rights on their own, because the same people going after them right now aren't going to stop with Islam. They'll just find other groups to harass later.
There will always be a group to harass. Just like I said with Don't Be a Sucker, with that video from the military, there's always another group to harass. That's the point. Picking off groups, and making everybody hate them. You know, immigrants are this evil group out there roving around, stealing our women and plundering our blah, blah, blah. And you get trans people like Caitlyn Jenner on their side, arguing that immigration needs to be curbed and brought in and the border closed and everything. And then the Trump administration talks shit about trans people. And suddenly he's got immigrants and Mexicans on his side. Yeah, those trans people sure are weird or whatever. They sure are destroying the country. They're sure adding to the sexual depravity or whatever fucking bullshit they say. They pick off one group at a time. That's how it has always worked. And that is how it's working today. Do you know that racism, bigotry, hatred, generally, is not born in? Do you know that it's taught, fully taught? You separate 5,000 babies from society completely. Put them on an island, and in this fictional scenario, they survive completely alone, separate from any cultural influence whatsoever. Babies of all different types, black, white, Asian, whatever. Racism will not appear in that society unless somebody introduces it. Racism is taught. Think about it. Do you hate do you hate people with brown hair? Do you prefer to be around people who have blonde hair do you prefer to be around people with blonde hair because you don't trust people with brown hair? You think they're shifty or trying to steal from you or whatever? There is no way you can breathe in that position. Let's put it right here. No. You don't view people with brown hair as inherently more trustworthy or blonde hair or whatever. That's not how it works. Because that's learned, not innate. I know it feels logical that racism is innate. It's not. It feels logical because humans are kind of tribalistic. We like being a part of our own group. That's not how it works. Racism is not innate. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. These people are just disgusting scumbags. I'm not feeding into it. As an atheist YouTuber, I will openly say, Islam dumb. It's so fucking stupid. It is a waste of your life and your time and your energy, and it's destructive and damaging and so on, whatever. Yes, I agree, all of that. But I don't know about you. I care more about the fact that child marriage is not banned in the United States than I do that it's not banned in the Middle East. I think we should be focused on that. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. These people are just fucking scumbags, truthfully. Okay, I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me. It's been fun. And I will see you guys on the flippity flip, okay? Which is Wednesday. All right. Later, everybody. Oh, yeah. And thank you so much, Carissa Wieland, for the gift of memberships. That's means a lot to me, really. It means so much. And yeah. All right. Later.